Okay, so this is how to analyze your fundraising data for success, and it's going to specifically show how we can use DonorSnap Analytics. Um, so just a quick, and you guys can all see my screen, correct? All right, let's get going. So just a quick look at the agenda. I'm going to briefly just go over what DonorSnap Analytics is again. We'll talk about the benefits of AI for strategic planning, and then we're going to focus on sort of like three real world areas where you can use this tool. So we're going to look at donor retention, campaign performance, and goal setting. And the reason we're looking at this now is because it's the beginning of the year. It's a really good time for nonprofits to sort of dig into their data and make some strategic decisions for the year ahead. So quickly, just an overview of what DonorSnap Analytics is. This is a new add-on to your DonorSnap subscription. It's an AI-powered reporting tool that writes SQL queries for you, so you can really dig into your data really easily and really quickly. And there's two main features that we're going to look at today. There's the AI reports, which is a chat-based report builder. And then there's also dashboards where you can create visual widgets to display your data nicely. So this is sort of the second training webinar. Joanna did one last week, and I did link in the slides to that training where she gives a more high-level overview of the tool. So we're just going to dive in a little deeper today and sort of look at like real-world examples of how you might use this tool when brainstorming and digging through your data. So quickly, the benefits of using analytics for strategic planning, the main one being the speed is that you can now get answers in seconds versus the time it would take to build complex reports and cross-reference them and dig deeper. So this allows you to get more creative and ask questions, dig deeper into your data that you couldn't really do before just because of time constraints. And I think about how cool this tool would have been at the last nonprofit I worked at. I had a very curious development committee. And so before every meeting, I would always create a lot of reports for them, but inevitably there was always another question. And I could sometimes get that answer to them, but I think about now if I had this tool going back in time and we could just throw it up on the big screen and we could sort of dive into those what if questions really easily, it would be a great brainstorming tool and really kind of help you get the most out of your fundraising data. And so that in turn gives you a more strategic focus. You can spend less time on reports and more time on planning. So the first area I want to dive into today is donor retention. We all know that it costs more money to get a new donor in the door versus keeping our current ones. So we'll use the tool and kind of show how you can start broad and narrow your way down, looking at questions like your overall retention rate, and then maybe if there's giving levels that need attention, and maybe look at lapsed major donors. So going over into DonorSnap, as I mentioned before, this is an add-on to your DonorSnap subscription. So if you sign up with it, you'll see it over on your side menu here. And then anyone who has access to your DonorSnap account will have access to this tool. So here, one thing I just want to reiterate is the data security. The way this tool works is that it accesses the tables in your database and the fields in those tables to write the SQL query for you, but it doesn't actually have access to your donor's personal information. And this is obviously a good practice. You shouldn't ever be feeding your donor data into an AI. We don't use your donor data to train any AI. It's just writing the code and then putting it back into DonorSnap. So you can trust that your data stays very secure. So going in here, as I mentioned before, there's two main parts. There's the AI reports, which is where we're going to start. And then there's also the dashboard. So we'll look a little bit at that today as well. And so the first sort of brainstorm I want to walk you guys through is a hypothetical donor retention one. So I'm probably going to start with just a question. What is my overall donor retention rate from last year? So I'll ask it, what is my donor retention rate for donors who gave in 2024, but not again in 2025? And as you use this tool, you'll sort of learn how to talk to it. It's really pretty simple, but sometimes you do need to clarify things a little bit for it. But that's the nice thing about it is that if it does need clarification, it will ask you. So it told me how it found it, and I see down here my results. I know in my demo site that this is accurate. So I had 121 donors, 73 were retained, and my retention rate is 60%. So now I want to know a little bit more about these lost donors, the 48. So I'm just going to ask, and I have all my prompts saved, so I'm just copying and pasting them right now. But we will provide you guys with all of these in case you wanted to do it yourself. So now I'm going to ask, can you give me the contact info and the last gift amount of the 48 donors who did not return in 2025? And usually when you ask for like a report where it's going to be a list of names, it does take a little longer. Um, so the AI is thinking, and then it's giving me a list of names. And so I wanted to see the last gift amount because now I want to look for major donors who have lapsed. So I can actually ask the tool to sort from largest to smallest gift. That way I can just get a quick glance of my major donors who lapsed. So I'm going to say, can you sort from largest to smallest gift amount? Okay, so here I see some of my top donors. I see this guy, Christopher, had given $10,000 in 2024, but he hasn't given again. But maybe we want a little more information. Maybe he was a one-time donor to like a capital campaign. So I actually want this report to show the gift amount and then the campaign and the appeal as well. So I'm just going to ask, can you add the campaign and appeal? So you just talk to it like you would a coworker. There's nothing fancy you have to do in terms of um, the prompts. It is sometimes a little, it will ask for clarification again if you're not clear. But that gave me what I needed. So I see here this guy, Christopher, he gave to the Capital campaign and he had attended the gala. This is a demo site, so some of the data in here might look a little funky, but you get the gist. So now I want to know a little bit more about Christopher and his giving history, because maybe someone on my development committee wants to reach out to him, but they want to know maybe that he's only donating to capital campaigns. So I'm going to ask, can you show me Christopher Abel's giving history? And then it shows me all his gifts amounts. So this is what's really fun about this tool is that you can dig deep really easily and quickly and find out information you need. So seeing how this guy has never really donated to the annual fund, maybe that's a conversation with someone on your team that we're going to start nurturing that donor and see if we can get him giving on a regular basis to the annual fund as well. And in terms of this report, maybe your committee or someone wants this information of lapsed donors, especially the major donors. So this query, if you're happy with the way it looks, you can save it by clicking Save Query and it'll be saved over here. And then anyone who has access to your DonorSnap account will be able to access that. Or you could export it as a CSV file and email it over. So moving over to the dashboard, this would be the chat feature where you're generating the reports. The dashboard is more visual widgets. So if it's stuff that you want to check in often and you want to build some reports that you can glance at quickly, this is great for that. So I built a donor retention dashboard. This widget I created because I wanted to look at donor retention by giving level. So this is showing 2025. And then I see here my donors in the $5,000 to $10,000 range had a pretty low retention rate. So that might be something to keep an eye on. Maybe we're not doing a donor appreciation event for that level. Maybe it's only 10,000 plus, and that's a conversation we need to have. But this gives us a nice quick glance at our donor retention. And then this is another example of a report that I used to make at the last nonprofit I worked at. They like to track donor retention by the month for our major donors because they would often give at the same time every year. So if they lapsed, they wanted to make sure they were on top of that, obviously before the end of the year. So I asked the tool to make this chart, and I will just click edit so you can see my prompt. But I just asked it, can you give me a list of donors who gave over 5,000 in 2025 by month that they gave, along with their contact info, and if they gave again in 2026. And so when you create these widgets, I created it, but then I also wanted to see their 2026 gift amount. So then I just explain the changes I want and then said show their gift amount for 2026, and I got this report. And so we will, again, at the end of this training, I'll make sure you have all these prompts in case you want to do it yourself. If you were going to add a new one, that button is over here, and we will create a new widget later on. I'm going to do um, a little bit more simple one, but they're pretty easy to create, and they do sometimes require a little fine tuning just to get them the way you want. But that's kind of the beauty of it. If it doesn't give you exactly what you want the first time, you can just ask it to refine things, and inevitably you'll get this nice dashboard. And then this data will update in real time. So anytime you add something to your DonorSnap database, the information on your dashboards will update as well. So the next strategic area I want to look at is campaign performance. This kind of helps you understand what's working so you can plan the year ahead. And we're just going to look at how a capital campaign is performing, and then we'll build a prospect list from current donors for the capital campaign. So going back over into the analytics tool, I'm going to go back to the report side. So all of your conversations, like the one I just had, will be saved over here. But you're always going to want to start a new chat for any new conversation you have, because it's going to start to build upon whatever questions you had been asking before. So the last chat I had going, I was asking about donor retention. So we're totally shifting gears and talking about campaigns now. So maybe I'm just going to start broad. I'm going to ask, can you show me my campaign totals for 2025? And it's helpful when you use this tool if you know how everything is set up in your database. So you'll want to know how you're tracking campaigns and appeals, because sometimes it's going to ask you to clarify that. So this one just pulled from my donation campaign field. And again, this is a demo site, so obviously these numbers are a little weird. But this will show me my totals and the donation counts. If I wanted to see something else, like what appeal drew in the most money, I can just keep asking it and it'll build upon this report until I'm happy with it. But as I mentioned, I want to build a prospect list. So what I want to do is I want to find all of the donors who have contributed, all the major donors to my annual fund who have not contributed to my campus expansion fund. So I'm going to ask it, show me donors who gave over $5,000 to the annual fund in 2025 specifically, who have not yet given or contributed to the campus expansion campaign. And you will, over time, like I had asked this before, and I said, show me donors who gave over $5,000 to the annual fund, and it totaled everything. So I had to be more specific and say to the annual fund in 2025. But hopefully this will give me what I want. Okay, so now I have this list of 7 donors who have gave over $5,000 last year, but haven't contributed to the fund. And then if I want to send this over to my development committee or someone else on my team, I'm going to ask, can you add their contact information? And so it's really cool. It's literally just like talking to a coworker. It's not, you don't have to understand like complex query building, and you really get the data fast. So I'm happy with these results. I can hit save. I can save this as a capital, what is this, the campus. We'll save it as that. And then that's going to show up in the saved queries. I can also export it as a CSV and send that along as well. So back over here, this is just an example of another widget we could make in the dashboard for our campaign performance. So the prompt I used was, can you show me my, and then I put in the campaign name, progress with a $5 million goal. So you can set your goals right there, and then it'll track it. You can change the colors. Again, all you have to do is just ask it. Say, I want my radial progress chart to be orange, and that can change as well. So the last area I want to look at is goal setting. This is a good time of year to look at your data from last year so you can set goals based on realistic data informed, or you can make data informed goals. So we're going to look at how many donors we should aim for in 2026, and also what percentage of donors we can expect to move up a giving level. So back over to the chat. Again, I'm going to say new chat, and I want a list of donors who made their first donation in 2025. So I have a list of 30 donors. Again, here it'll show you how you did it. So if you ever look at the results and they seem a little off, just read through this and then you can tweak it as needed to get it to what you want. So I have my list of new donors from last year. It looks like there's a kind of a good range of gift amounts. And now I want to see how many new donors I've had over the course of 5 years, so I can sort of decide what would be a good realistic goal for this year. So I'm going to ask, can you give me the totals of new donors for the last 5 years? Okay, so these are my new donors. So I have kind of all over the place. Again, this is a demo site, so let's just pretend these numbers are a little more consistent. Um, and so say I see a steady progress and I think that a good goal for 2026 is going to be 40 new donors. That could be something that we'll set, and we'll set that up over in the dashboard in a minute, but I just want to show you one other thing. Um, so let's start a new chat. And then maybe we want to see how many donors increased their giving level from 2024 to 2025. So we can sort of start planning on how we can expect to see our donations grow in the coming year. So I'm going to ask, can you show me all donors from 2025 plus their last gift amount? And this might take a minute just because it's probably going to be a long list. So the bigger the report you ask to pull, the longer it will take sometimes. Um, and then now I want to see their 2024 gift amount and if they increased their giving level. And if I knew ahead of time this is what I wanted, I probably could have asked it all in one question, but I just wanted to show you how you can sort of dig through the data. So now I'm going to ask if they can show the 2024 gift amount and if they increased their giving level. Okay, so now I have a list. I have new donors increased. So instead of sifting through this, I just want to know what percentage of the donors increased their gift amount so that way I can set a goal. Because looking at this would take a long time to sort of figure that out. So I'm just going to say what percentage of these donors increased their gift amount. I'm actually going to say to remove the new donors. Okay, so 32% of my donors increased their gift amount, 43 decreased. So that's kind of interesting information that I can then use if I want to set up some goals apps on my dashboard and track that throughout the year. So back over in the dashboard, you can set up multiple dashboards. So I had showed you the donor retention one before. This is a goal planning one that I set up. Um, so I had set a goal that I wanted 45 new donors in 2026. So I'm just going to show you how I set this up. So new widget, and then I'm just going to, again, talk to it like I'm talking to a person. I have a goal of 45 new donors for 2026. Can you show me all donors who made their first gift in 2026 and help me track the goal of 45? So I'll generate a preview. so it provided me with the widget. Um, so I'm going to save it. I think it's down here. But, uh, and then you just kind of resize it. Sorry, my computer's being funky. All right, but I do also want to see the new donor's information. So if there's anything that I want to look different, you would just click edit. And I'm going to say, can you also show the total gift amount from new donors? And so it's the same thing as the chat tool. If there's something that you want to change, you just keep asking it and it'll edit it to your liking. And then all of this information, all of these widgets you create will be saved on your dashboard. And anytime the information in your DonorSnap account is updated, it will update the dashboard. So this is great because you could just screen grab it if you're running a campaign and you're sending out communications, or if your board needs it, you can just easily grab this data for them. Okay, so it's telling me there's no new donors yet. Oops. But again, this is one I had created before. So then it showed me my new donors and the first gift amount. And then this one was repeat donor gift increases. So I put, can you track if repeat donors increase their gift amount from 2025, show the percentage and the donation total increase. So these are just ways you can track your fundraising progress. You could set it up at the beginning of the year, like this time of the year, and then it's something you can keep an eye on throughout the year, so you don't really have any hidden surprises come year end. So those were kind of the three areas I wanted to look at. Obviously, this tool, you can explore any sort of data that you want. Your creativity is really your only limit here. So just some tips for success in using the tool. Starting with high level questions helps, and then just narrow down and refine with new prompts. Save all your reports for easy access later. So anyone who has access to this account will have access to all of the reports you create. The dashboards are good for metrics that you check regularly, and you can also use this to combine insights. So with our Data Miner Platinum tool, you're going to have to run multiple reports on the different tables in your database, but this tool you can cross-reference super quickly. So if you do want to add this on to your DonorSnap account, just email support and they will help you get started. And I am just going to stop recording and then I will get to your questions.